Welcome to Leaping Larry's Revolutionary Reading Theatre.
Yep, it's us in the reading theater. Welcome, comrades. As you might know, we are working our way through Kim Jong Il's on the Juche philosophy over here right now. Just this, just that. Want this to say reading. Welcome, Radisby. I hope you were well. Well, an afternoon to you. I guess morning to me. It's almost afternoon for me. I got like another hour, and then it'll be my afternoon. I guess technically, technically, what is it like when it's like 12:01? Is that technically afternoon? You're making dinner? Yeah. I woke up. I woke up. Woke up a while ago. I got all like ready. Looking all fine for you all. I had to take out all the garbage, and then I had to feed the ducks and smoke a joint while we were watching that intro. That's the secret. That's why the intro is as long as it is. Gotta feed the ducks and then gotta have a little wake up medicine. So, um, as we're working through the Juche philosophy here, we first talked about the philosophical principles. Then we talked about the socio-historical principles, which was, of course, the analysis of social history through the lens of Juche philosophy. And then now we are talking about the guiding principles of Juche. Last time we talked about the independent stand through the last two episodes, included these aspects such as Juche in ideology, independence in politics, self-sufficiency in economy, and self-reliance in defense. Today we're going to the creative method should be applied. Now, I do also remind you though that if you go to my channel here, and you come over to videos right here, very first thing you'll see here is the live readings. You can see the first one we have here is Socialism and Man in Cuba. And you can catch up to a read of on a philosophy here. Starts with this. Now you can also get this on my YouTube as well. So this is my beacons. I got a beacons because I tried to make a link tree and they banned me instantly as soon as I made the link tree. Like I was able to make it all and like set it all up, and then as soon as I hit publish, I got a notification and like an email that was like, "Oh, you've been banned from Linktree." Okay, I didn't even. I like just published the thing. I have no idea why. Okay, so and then, yeah, if you come to my YouTube, which you can go, this is just like my most popular video here. Or no, that's my channel trailer. This is my most popular video, DPRK reality check. And this right here, if you click on my YouTube, there's my YouTube channel. And my live readings are here under this playlist. You need to catch up. Don't worry about ever being behind. You post them. So, with that in mind, we're going to talk about the second guiding principle of the Juche philosophy, that the creative method should be applied. If we are to carry out the revolution and construction as required by the Juche idea, we should apply the creative method both in mapping out the policy, strategy, and tactics of the revolution and in implementing them. To apply the creative method to solve all problems arising in the revolution and construction, conformity with the actual conditions by relying on the creativity of the people. This is the principle one should always strictly adhere to in the revolutionary movement. And so in this, there is two aspects. And the first aspect is the method of depending on the masses. The success of the revolution and construction depends, after all, on how the creative efforts of the masses are utilized. Since the masses are the decisive force that propels the revolution and construction, one can successfully solve any difficult problem, energetically speed up the revolution and construction, only when one relies on them. Say, in opposed to using bureaucratic methods which are a hangover from capitalist society in order to try and have party policy followed by the masses. This would be a mistake for a socialist party and a socialist nation in general to make, because it would lead to a divorce between the people and the masses. And unlike in a capitalist society where the party can lead via money, socialist society, the party can only lead with support of the people. Divorce between the people and the party leads to, of course, an undermining of the socialist system itself, and it being, of course, ripe for overthrow by the capitalists and the imperialists, as we saw exactly happen in USSR, tragically. There's so many lovely comrades. It is hard to keep track. I'm eyeing this conversation Frank and Panny and Redispi are having in chat, and it's cute as hell. Like, wait a second. I still feel like we've already realized this. It's so. By the way, I'm someone who smokes pot, so my short-term memory is terrible. I I like will set something down and completely forget about it. So you can imagine how bad I can be with names and remembering things.
Let's go, smokes. Let's go, smokes.
Although also ADHD, yeah, I get that too. Oh shit. Thank you, GMO. I will do that. I gotta. Whoops. Oh, I gotta grab my my green though. Let me empty this out. The success of the revolution Right. If we are to successfully carry out the revolution and construction by depending on the masses, we should map out a correct policy reflecting their demands and aspirations and make it their own. The masses of the people know the reality better than anybody else and have a wealth of experience. Only when the will and demands of the broad masses are integrated into a policy one is working out can the policy be correct, conform with their aspirations and interests, win their hearty support, and inspire them to the struggle. One should fail to reflect the will of the masses correctly. One would commit a subjective error in guiding the revolution and construction. Then one would be unable to enlist their creativity. One must not only formulate a policy mirroring the will and aspiration of the masses, but should also bring it home to the masses so as to make it their own. All of the policies of the party are implemented and realized by the masses in the long run. I've remember we've discussed this before, that like the proper way for a revolutionary party in a socialist society to interact with the state organs, that the party is independent of all state organs, and that the cadres of the parties go among, live among the people, of course, in their various constituencies, and they tend to be popular because of the Workers' Party, you know, struggling through revolution and things like this. But it's up to those party cadres to, when they're participating in the state organs, to convince the other people who are on state organs as well, who are non-party members, workers, their unions, etc., to draw nearer to the Workers' Party policy on a voluntary basis through persuasion, discussion. And at the same time, it's the party's responsibility to build socialism correctly so as to show the superiority of it, and that also becomes a compelling factor that convinces the people to trust more and more in the party and in socialism in general. Therefore, draw closer to that party policy. Losing the trust of the masses is what happened in USSR. Yeah, I mentioned before, like how de-Stalinization, which was an attack on Stalin and Lenin, really was like a big reason for this divorce. It was at least the beginning of it. And that's not to say that there weren't all kinds of mistakes and bureaucratic problems and counter-revolutionaries in leadership in the days of Lenin and Stalin too. There were. But like the popularity of Lenin and Stalin and the Workers' Party during their times made it so that the masses more closely followed the policy of like the Central Committee, regardless of the corrupt sections of the leadership there. However, as this divorce between the masses and the people became more frustrated, the divorce between the party and the people became more frustrated because of like the de-Stalinization campaign, and then other like sort of reforms that were passed later on regarding like incentives, monetary incentives and stuff like this. That was that's what undermined it. And then that made the bureaucratic problems and the corruption stick out far more, right? And then it just sort of got worse and worse until it was overthrown by fucking imperialists and swindlers and capitalists. When they are acquainted with the correctness of party policy and the proper method to implement it, they will accept it as vital to them and demonstrate a high degree of enthusiasm and initiative for its fulfillment. Welcome, Jackbird. If the policy is not grasped by the masses, it will not produce great effect in life. In order to carry out the revolution in construction by drawing on the creative power of the people, it is necessary to unite them into a single political force. The strength of the masses lies in unity. When they are firmly united, they will demonstrate really amazing power in the revolutionary struggle and construction work. If the masses are to be united firmly, it is necessary to properly combine the class line and the mass line. Only when the mass line is correctly carried out, while firmly adhering to the class principle, will it be possible to isolate completely the hostile element, build up the class position, and educate and transform all sections of the masses, unite them, and give full scope to their creativity, revolution, and construction. If under socialism, the class struggle and the work of strengthening the people's unity and solidarity are not combined properly, the rightist and leftist deviations are allowed to develop. It will weaken the unity of the masses, paralyze their revolutionary zeal and creative power, and inflict a loss to the revolution and construction. If the creative power of the masses is to be brought into play in the revolution and construction, The struggle must be waged against all outdated things that hamper innovations. In particular, it is important to wage an active struggle against pacifism and conservatism. This is the only way to give full play to the creative power of the masses and bring about continuous innovations and upsurge in the revolution and construction. I hear the Pat socks that try to use. I love this part here because I love the Pat socks that try to use DPRK as an example of like, you know, they try to be like, oh, and they do this by infantilizing and insulting and spitting in the face of the global south by saying the global south and especially the socialist countries are conservative in all these aspects. It's like any sort of like problems in those aspects are literally the direct result of colonialism, and every single socialist fucking country, every single socialist nation is working against that in their own country to a much higher militant degree than what is happening in the US, where they're constantly trying to roll back those fucking rights. Like, I mean, they put it right here, clear as day, which shows you that these fucking Pat socks don't actually do any of the studying. They quote farm. They're good at putting on a show and quote farming and fucking taking quotes and using them as dogmatically as possible to basically make their position. It's a smoke and mirror show. And like I say, you can see right here spelled out in the most popular work by Kim Jong-il, maybe aside from Socialism as Science, but in his most popular work right here, to wage active struggle against pacifism and conservatism. This is the only way to give full play to the creative power of the masses and bring about continuous innovations and an upsurge in the revolution and construction. And just to be clear here, he's not talking about like conservatives in particular. He's talking about something that both the liberals and the conservatives do, which is try to conserve the old society or turn it back, right? This is the thing. Like we gotta make sure that our comrades are not thinking within the context purely of American politics, because that is an unfortunate common thing. We have to sometimes remind our American comrades, hey, your politics are your own internal politics, and while they do affect the rest of the world, there is different understandings of like conservatism, liberal, etc., especially when you're talking about like Marxist Leninists, scientific socialists, right? How do we tail reactionaries then? Yeah. Hey, welcome in, comrade. Great to see you. So when he says an active struggle against conservatism, it doesn't mean just an active struggle against conservatives of the American brand. It means an active struggle against any liberalism that seeks to conserve the old society and the old relations. I think that logically, of course, you extend this to gender abolition. Right? Again, it's Juche literally tells us to wage revolution against all the old ideas, all of the old things that hamper human development, which of course includes colonialism and all of its aspects, all of its weapons. Oh, you're talking about people being reactionaries? I just wrote something about that. Oh, I would be very interested to see this, Sebs. Welcome in. Hello, Careless Wild Ride. Welcome in to you as well. Hope you all are well this morning. We're reading from Kim Jong-il's on... Yeah, of course I did. I mean, Sebs, that, like, to be real, my nation didn't have like this duality concept of gender when Europeans arrived here. You sent it to me? Yay! That's fucking awesome. I'm very excited to read it. Oh, it's on your Twitter? Oh shit. Okay. Oh. Oh yes, 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 this. Okay. Yep. We'll get to that. That will be part of the we'll just stick that right in here. That's we'll save that for last on the Twitter because best for last. Oh, let me while we're just chatting for a second, let me grab my weed because I told somebody I would smoke. Somebody read 420. There we go. Right now I can actually do your redeem for you. Here, we'll do this too. That way you know what's going on. It's green. Now you know what's up. So just remember, I just want you all to remember that though. Whenever somebody these fucking reactionaries try and tell you that like DPRK or China or some other country that's socialist, especially, well, any global South country, literally without exception, is like conservative or something as a way to excuse their own like wanting to preserve um fucking old like ideas that have been handed down through class societies and colonial societies. Just know that they're fucking bullshitting you. All of these places are waging an active struggle against those ideas that the masses of people are. Of course, in a socialist society, they have a much better way to be able to do that because the masses of people are in control of their own governments in these societies. Like, some people, I've talked about this before, but like regarding LGBTQ plus rights in DPRK, some people make the mistake of going, well, because there's no militant LGBTQ or pride movement there, where you see people marching in the street demanding their rights and things like this and militantly fighting for their rights like at the cost of their lives and stuff. The reason you don't see that in DPRK is because they have never persecuted people based on gender or sexuality or anything like this. So the reason why these movements develop the way that they do is because people are fighting against oppression. They are fighting against something trying to genocide them as a people, right? And like one reason, this is why, in the case of Cuba, of course, we know Cuba made a mistake in this area. And this is why Cuba had that movement emerge there, because the people had to take other means to demand their rights, which thankfully the government and thankfully Fidel Castro apologized for his misstep and did own up to that mistake, right? Showing you that, of course, he's a true revolutionary, able to actually self criticize and actually to admit when he's done something wrong. And now Cuba has one of the best family codes. Now, like that struggle for DPRK for those rights, those same kind of like family code and stuff, doesn't have to be done militantly, struggling through life and death on the streets because the people are in control of their own government there. The same as finally now, the way that all people are included in Cuba's as well ability to participate in government. But now, of course, there's the tradition of that struggle, which is a beautiful thing for them to hold on to and remember as a tradition of the revolution and part of that struggle to realize independence of the people. That makes sense to you all. Damn, this stuff is sticky. Gonna be good, I feel. Like it's gonna be good. Thank you for that redemption, comrade. And we'll continue reading while I'm smoking this. All right, so we're talking about the principle of applying the creative method, and more specifically, we're talking about depending on the masses, and we're talking even more specifically about combining the mass line with the class line. Oh, look, we got a 3-minute break while people are on an ad break, actually, so maybe I'll just do this. I got the day off. I should be puffing along with you. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all you subbies and of course those who gifted subs so that all these wonderful people can hang out during the ad break and chat. Oh, you know what? I do want to fill up my water though right quick. So hold on. We're on an Yeah, this is a herb vaporizer. It's the PAX 2, I think it's called. I don't know if you're in an ad or not. Pretty good. Like it. Yep. Those ideas get introduced by colonialism in those places. Yep. I mean that's what I was saying to Seb's when Seb's was surprised about me saying that I'm for gender abolition. Of course I am, because like I was saying, my nation didn't have that understanding the whole understanding of gender that exists today in my nation, in my country, was forced by Europeans. It was completely incompatible with our idea. Which I think at the end of the day, and the more we're finding out, and the more the more, I guess, the more, yeah, the more people are realizing that our analysis, the Mi'kmaq analysis of that, was more accurate, is a more scientific understanding. Is that people, they tell you who they are themselves in all aspects, right? That's a big part of like what growing up is you have you have a ceremony, and then it's your job to tell everybody else who you are, what your, what your role is, what your name is. Oh, got it. Okay, so let's continue our read here. Widespread mass movements should be launched in revolution and construction. Mass movements are a creative way to strengthen the unity and cooperation of the working masses and give rein to their inexhaustible strength. Good morning, Cinnamon. They are a revolutionary method to expedite the building of socialism and communism through mass struggle and collective innovations. One can collectively solve any difficult problem if one fights off all elements standing in the way of mass movements, brings the consciousness and initiative of the masses into full play, and organizers, and steadily develops mass struggle. Yeah, exactly, Radisby. It's completely it's completely hypocritical. And it's just plain old white chauvinism. As it always has been. What is important in carrying out the revolution in construction? What is important in carrying out the revolution in construction by enlisting the creativity of the broad masses is to establish a revolutionary method of work. Even if one has a correct policy, one would neither be able to properly mobilize the masses in its implementation, nor carry out the revolution in construction successfully without a revolutionary method of work. The leader created the revolutionary work method of communists, the Juche method of work, as far back as the days of the anti-Japanese revolutionary struggle. The Juche work method enables the masses of the people to maintain the stand of master of the revolution and construction and fully play their role as such. Welcome in, Falcon. This work method is a revolutionary and communist work method. It enables one always to go among the masses, to acquire a profound understanding of the actual situation, and to find correct solutions to the problems. It makes it possible for the higher ranks to substantially help the lower units, give precedence to political work, in all work to get the masses to fulfill the revolutionary tasks of their own accord, and solve without formality all problems creatively in a way which suits the suitable a way which is suitable to the specific features and circumstances. This method of work always enables one to share life and death and ups and downs with the masses, stand at their head, set an example, and be modest, simple, and generous, and lead the masses into fully demonstrating their creative initiative. The Juche work method is fundamentally opposed to the method of moving people by offering money or using force, or the administrative work method, the method of command. Juche idea is formally opposed to the method of commanding. Some people are usually surprised to hear that written there. See if I can find this other quote. Oh, I'll have to look for it after. Ugh. Ugh, you don't need to go in. So, And I actually talked about this already during our read, why this is important. No, she doesn't. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to keep her out of there. So, this Juche work method is fundamentally opposed to the method of moving people by offering money or using force, or the administrative work method, the method of command. And we were talking about this already, how the party has to lead by persuasion and convincing people to voluntarily follow the party policy, right? Otherwise, the party isn't gaining the trust of the masses and is becoming divorced from the masses. And the party, the Socialist Party, because it's a planned economy and because everything is returned to keeping the society going and returning the fruits of the labor to the people, because of that, it can't rely on like money to bribe certain sections of the population and have enormous inequality, of course, because that would be counter to what the socialist society is trying to do. So the only way to do it is to build socialism as like a proper example, while also having cadres go among the people and try and convince them and persuade them to follow the party policy because of its correctness. The working class party should always hold fast to the revolutionary work method, both before and after. Get upstairs. The working class party should always hold fast to the revolutionary work method, both before and after the takeover of power, and in the revolutionary struggle and construction work. In particular, following the takeover of power, it must steadily improve and perfect the work method in conformity with the developing reality. Only then would it be possible to exploit fully the revolutionary zeal and creative activity of the masses, and vigorously push ahead with socialist and communist construction. Then it would be possible to eliminate bureaucratic and administrative tendencies, which are liable to appear in the government party. That the working class party adheres to the revolutionary work method of relying on the masses and enlisting their creativity is an important question of principle in the revolution and construction. We must thoroughly apply the revolutionary work method created by the leader, the great leader's work method, and thus give full play to the creativity of the masses and accelerate the revolution and construction. Hope that all makes sense. So the method, the first part um of maintaining creative stand in the revolution is to depend on the masses. Now the second part of maintaining creativity in the revolution is the method suitable to the actual situations. Seems so obvious, but it's so important because everybody seems to treat the preceding theories and philosophies as a dogma, as something to copy and paste, even when they think they're not doing that. And I even see communists who are on in words, they will be say that they are anti-dogmatic, right? They'll be like, "Oh, I'm anti-dogmatic," yeah. And then the next day, you see them posting something on like social media where they'll say, "Don't get your theories from, don't get any of your theories or your education about communism from these blogs or from these streamers or from these YouTubes. Make sure you only get them from the pre-existing communist books." And then like they'll list a whole bunch of communists. It's like it's good to read those people, but Also, where do you think new ideas like are coming from? It ignores the fact that like if Lenin and Marx and fucking were alive and struggling today, they would absolutely use the internet and like blogs or whatever to fucking try and get their messages out there as well as printing on paper, right? They would have used whatever methods they could. That's why they used newspapers and shit in their day. It's a silly, silly thing that's an expression of thinking with that dogmatic attitude that's like, well, you know, we can only look at the existing theories, and anything outside of that that's coming from the internet is just we just throw that away rather than actually looking at what's being said or like contextualizing what's being said. Oh yeah, Lennon would have been shady as hell. He would retweet like Eddie and then block him or something, like and then he would do like a big post about do not trust the Nazis. They're whatever. They're fascists in disguise or something. Of course, only with much better language than I could ever come up with because I'm more like Stalin's like style. I'm just direct as I can. Eddie has sent in a silly letter. Yeah. Why bother to debate them? They would reply to us, we would reply to them. The whole thing is quite pointless. It is perfectly okay to call out their nonsense and let the people judge it from there. So, the second part of maintaining the creative stand in the revolution is methods suitable to the actual situation. Like, what's going on in there? Getting some flooring laid. The revolutionary movement demands solving all problems in conformity with the changes and development in the reality and the specific conditions of the country. The revolutionary struggle for socialism and communism is waged in different conditions of the time and concrete circumstances of each country. There is no formula for the revolution in construction that is suitable to all eras and all countries. Therefore, one must always proceed from the actual situation and creatively solve all problems in conformity with it. If one is to wage the revolutionary struggle in the way which is suitable to one's own actual situation, one must correctly assess the subjective and objective conditions of the revolution in one's own country and define the line, strategy, and tactics in accordance with them. Should one fail to take into good account these conditions, one would fall into subjectivism in mapping out the policy, would inflict a great loss to the revolution in construction. In the revolutionary struggle, greater importance should be attached to the internal factor and the political and ideological factor. Sebs actually was mentioning about the political factor yesterday in stream. One can promote the revolution as one desires when the internal forces are prepared and the masses' level of ideology is high, although other conditions are unfavorable. In defining the policy and methods of the revolution, one must regard the internal factor and the political and ideological factor as the main factors, strengthening them to energetically develop the revolution. One is to carry out the revolutionary struggle and construction work in accordance with one's actual conditions. One must take a correct attitude towards established theories. Here's the real important part. As the leader instructed, with regards to the propositions or formulas of established theories, one must apply them to conform to one's specific conditions and peculiarities after taking into consideration the demands of the time they reflect and the premises they are based on. So it's not enough to just read Lenin's theories, but you have to understand the context of the time and the historical circumstances that he was working under. Otherwise, you get to ridiculous things like, liberals believing that he was talking about the social democrats of today or something in his early works. A theory that does not conform with the specific revolutionary practice is useless. In the guidance of the revolutionary struggle and construction work, the starting point is not the propositions or formulas of the established theories, but the actual realities. The point is not whether something conforms with the established theories, but whether it conforms with the demands and interests of the masses and the subjective and objective conditions of a given period. If something should meet the demands and interests of the masses and the subjective and objective conditions, one would not need to stick to the existing propositions or formulas. In order to correctly carry out the revolutionary struggle, one must actively inquire into new principles and methods of the revolution and construction, which are suitable to the historical conditions of the time and one's concrete situation. Inquiring into new revolutionary principles and ways to meet the demands of the actual conditions is very urgent in our time. In our era, the revolution and construction are being intensified and developed as never before, and many new theoretical and practical problems are arising. This demand that the guiding theory, strategy, and tactics of the revolution be mapped out in a way which is suitable to the present conditions, and that the revolutionary theory of the working class be further developed in a creative way. The theoretical activities of our party that has originally clarified revolutionary principles and ways to meet the demands raised by the revolutionary practice of our time constitute a brilliant example in adhering to the revolutionary principles of Marxism-Leninism and developing the revolutionary theory of the working class onto a new, higher plane. A critical and creative approach to foreign experience is important in the revolution and construction. Such experiences always reflect the socio-historical conditions and the national peculiarities of a particular country. Some of them are necessary and beneficial to one's country, suitable to one's actual conditions, but others are not. One must accept what is beneficial to one and reject what is not. In accepting the good experiences of others, one must not swallow them raw, but adhere to the stand of changing and modifying them to suit one's actual conditions. Although one had better refer to the experience of others, one must make effective use of one's own experiences as far as possible. It is wrong to try to copy others blindly, and to refuse to learn with an open mind from the good experience of others. The question is, what should one's attitude toward the experience of others? We are opposed to the dogmatic attitude of unconditionally worshipping the experience of others without demonstrating a creative spirit, and mechanically imitating even that which is not suitable to one's actual conditions. This attitude renders it impossible to map out a correct policy conforming to revolutionary requirements of one's own country and the aspiration of one's own people. In the long run, it would make it impossible to carry out the revolution instructions satisfactorily. To apply the creative spirit in solving all problems in conformity with one's own situation is a scientific and revolutionary method that makes it possible to reject flunkeyism and dogmatism, successfully carry out the revolution and construction. Absolutely. Absolutely, Franken. There you go. That's the second principle on the creative stand. So Our next read on Monday. If I stream on the weekend, we just do fun time gaming, talking about politics while I game type thing. So on our next stream, we'll be talking about this chapter right here. The main stress should be placed on ideology, which is such an important thing. And it's the thing that counters the idea and explains the idea of why like revolution didn't take place in the most developed capitalist countries first, as Marx originally predicted, right? Really gets into the reasons why that is the case and the importance of giving priority to the ideological factor in revolution before like as being even more important. Of course, developing the economy and developing light industry and improving the people's living standards is important, but it's important to do that with the main priority being on ideologically remolding them, giving them revolutionary ideological education and pushing them into being, transforming them into being like socialist and communist type people. That is like the most important job of the Revolutionary Party. As